What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Alrighty then.
RadioWhat.com.
What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. Today on the program, oh yeah, the excitement is building. Charlotte Mckinnon, the sugar hip herself. She is going to be on the program. We're going to be chit-chatting about her music, career, and whatever else pops up on her mind. I'm looking forward to talking to Charlotte Mckinnon. This week's shows in Conway, Arkansas. Well, no, in Russellville, Arkansas on Thursday. I'll be at the Old Post Barbecue for the video dance party karaoke jam. It's family friendly, so come on out, have some good barbecue. And if you're over 21, we have some adult beverages, some frosty beverages for you. I keep the music family friendly, so come on out. 6 to 9, Russellville, Arkansas. Old Post Barbecue. Be there. Friday night, I'm at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas from 8 p.m. until almost 2 in the a.m. And that is a 21 and over club. I'm going to have a good time. And they got the full bar. The kitchen is open. They got 10 diamond quality pool tables and the pool tournament on Friday nights. So you don't want to miss that. Out on the party patio, they have shuffleboard, foosball, a giant Jenga game, a giant checkers game. So there's always something to do while you're waiting for little old me to call you up to sing, where you are the star of the show at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. Friday night. And then Saturday night, Heber Springs VFW. It's the finale, the karaoke finale. I'm going to be performing on the big stage in the big room at the Heber Springs VFW on Saturday night starting at 8 p.m. I think they have over 20 contestants that are going to be performing at the finale. Now, me, thankfully, I do not have to be the judge of these quality singers. They have 3 celebrity judges that are going to be coming out to the Heber Springs VFW. So you want to be there and listen to some great singing. They got the full bar. They even got some good food there, I believe, over at the Heber Springs VFW. I was there a few weeks ago doing an 80s night, and that came out so well. They were so happy with my performance, and I was so happy to meet them. That was the first time I ever been to the Heber Springs VFW. So I get to be there. They liked me so much, they said, hey, will you come back on the 28th, Saturday? And I said, yeah, no problem. Happy to do it for the karaoke finale at Heber Springs VFW. All right, that's it. That's enough of my self-promotion. It's time to talk to Charlotte Mckinnon, the sugar hip, calling Charlotte Mckinnon now.
Good morning.
Charlotte Mckinnon, please.
This is she. How are you?
Charlotte Mckinnon, you got morning voice. I like it.
Yes.
Keys Dan from the What Makes You Famous podcast. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing? It's been a while.
It's been too long since we've seen each other. I know we just met. Oh, my goodness. What was it? Maybe 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, 2008, somewhere around there. And I think it was in Coconut Grove at a club. I was with Exito 105.5. We were doing some kind of a remote, and you were there, and I remember you saying "fascinated" in my ear, and it sent chills up my spine.
Okay, I vaguely remember that, but okay.
So good, so good. And then the very next year, probably, was it around summertime 2009, you were with KC and you came to Little Rock.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was sitting backstage. Well, I say backstage, it's the riverfront and it's all open. open air, and just you guys showed up, and you came up and you said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I just moved here," and there we are. Charlotte Mckinnon, tell the people a little bit about you. Give them a little bio. I mean, I know a little bit about you, but I'd like to know everything. give them a little bio of who Charlotte Mckinnon is.
Born in a little town called Waycross, Georgia, and I came back to South Florida. I guess when I was around 6. I was a military brat, so my family moved around a bit, and yeah, I started singing at an early age in elementary school, and then church, and let's see. I was in my first band, I think around 18. It was called In Total Control, the ITC band. It was a local R&B band. We did covers. And I had my first recording with them. It was a duo called Distant Love, which I haven't heard that song in years. Uh-huh. And I don't think it charted or anything, but they played it locally. That's all I remember. And but it was exciting for a teenager to have a song on the radio, you know.
I believe that.
It was a duet. I remember the guy's name was Will. I can't remember his last name. That's awful. But
wouldn't it be funny if it was Will I Am? I didn't remember him.
No, I don't remember his last name, but I'm going to have to Google that because I recently saw that on a Discog.
Oh.
And that song was listed first. And I was like, wow, somebody had that information. That's cool because I've never seen that on the internet before. That song listed under anything that I've done. So that was really cool. And then, you know, I'd done like talent shows and stuff at church and stuff at school. And so people in the community knew that I sang. And then I was singing in that band. And then I got a call to sing.
Sounds like you're getting a call now.
Yeah.
Maybe they want you to sing somewhere.
It's you. Okay, that's weird. Yeah, my computer's a little behind. Maybe it needs an update. I'm always slow to update my devices. But so after you know, performing locally, I got a call from a friend, and he said there was this young lady who was looking for a singer. Right. Her husband was looking for background singers, actually. And his name was Ish Ledesma.
Oh, and I know that name.
Yeah, he was a member of the group Foxy. And they had that huge hit to Get Off. Yep. So I went and met up with them, and we were singing background on Ish's solo project. It was myself, his wife, Lori Ledesma, and a good friend of mine named Lois Harrington, who is no longer with us. Oh. And then Lois left, and Susan Gonzalez joined us. Well, Susan Johnson, who is now Susan Gonzalez. And we became Company B.
Yes.
So he goes, you know, when things weren't going so well with his solo project, he goes, I'm going to do a song on you girls. And that was Jam On Me. We released it and we started doing shows, and we were seeing some, you know, local success. So we continued recording, and before you knew it, we had Fascinated.
Oh yeah, that little song you sang the chorus of in my ear and sent chills up my spine. Oh, let's back up a little bit. You said you were born in Georgia, but you pretty much you're a Miami girl.
Whereabouts? I'm a Miami girl.
Yeah, whereabouts in Miami?
And I grew up in Coconut Grove, which was a Bahamian settlement. My grandparents settled here from the Bahamas, just how I ended up here. It's my father's home. My mother's home is Georgia, and I'm the only child of 5 that was born in Georgia. Everyone else is born here, so this is home. This is home. I've been here most of my life, and you know, aside from moving around when we were small, following my dad around the country when he was in the military, and but you know, this has always been home.
So, what branch of the military was Dad in? He's from the Bahamas, but he came to the States and joined the forces.
He was in the Army, and I lived in the only place I remember living in is Texas because I was too young to remember other places like Baltimore and Kentucky and Oklahoma.
Okay, so his Army days were before you were 6. So
yeah.
Okay.
By the time I was 6, we were back here.
Very cool. So Bahamian settlement in Coconut Grove. How did you end up from Georgia to there? Or was your dad
like
there
I said,
before?
My dad. This is my dad's home.
Gotcha. Yes.
In Coconut Grove, and but my parents met in college.
Oh,
and,
that's nice.
Yeah. So
what does your dad do? Are they still around?
He is no longer with us.
Okay. What kind of work did your dad do?
My dad did an array of things.
Yes, hustling. That's good.
Besides the military, he was a truck driver for a while, and he did some. He worked with a what do you call it?
I'm not sure what you call it.
I'm trying to think. Early for me. With a private detective. Yeah,
what?
With a private detective for a while.
Okay, you just took an unexpected turn.
I remember him talking to us about that, and so that's what I remember.
That sounds exciting. Mm-hmm. From truck driver to private detective, from the Army to truck driver to
he worked. He was like his assistant. He was not the private detective himself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, and then your mom's still around?
My mom is still with us.
And what does she do? And
she retired from Dade County Police Department. She was a criminal records specialist.
Ah, gotcha.
But she's a closet writer.
Oh.
Yeah, she writes. And we've been trying to get her to publish something for years, and she mostly writes short stories. And now she's into mostly theological. That's what she likes to research. So
she's writing things down. I'm guessing she's got notebooks and notebooks full of things that she's written. Mm-hmm. Come on, Charlotte McKinnon's mom. You got to send that out to the world.
Yeah, right.
Short stories is where it's at right now because people with this limited attention span. Limited attention span. They want the short stories. I know when I sit down to read, I like a 2-page, 3-page story, and I'm in. I got the information, and I'm out. That's great.
Yeah.
What kind of stories was she writing before the theological stuff?
Stories about life, about family life and her life, and I guess things that she'd read about and imagined, or
that's sweet.
Whatever fancied her.
See, that's sweet. That's sweet.
She has a lot of knowledge about a lot of things because she's an avid reader. Well, was an avid reader. She's struggling with her vision now, but she's 81. God bless her. Yay. She's a cancer survivor.
Oh, right.
And
well, cool.
Big inspiration in my life.
And you get to see her a lot?
Yeah, well, we live together.
Oh, that's great. See, Charlotte McKinnon taking care of her mama. That says a lot about you. A lot of kids would just put somebody in a folks home and in a group home and just forget about them. But no, not you, Charlotte McKinnon. Your family's important. You got five brothers and sisters. I mean, I guess 4 brothers and sisters.
There's 5 of us.
Yes,
I'm in the middle.
Okay, how do you Charlotte in the middle? How do you feel about that? How did that affect your life?
Being a middle child, well, that's all I know. So,
okay.
But yeah, I had good siblings. My brothers are quite a bit older. They're 10 and 8 years older, and then my younger siblings, we're the younger bunch. I'm the oldest of the younger siblings. They're 2 and 7 years younger than I am. So
you would be the one taking care of them. Were you very protective of your younger siblings?
I would say yes.
Yes.
But everyone's pretty independent, I think everyone's pretty independent. So it didn't take a lot to have to.
So did you go to high school in the Grove?
Yep. Well, Coral Gables Senior High.
Coral Gables Senior High.
Yeah.
I worked on a radio station in Coral Gables. It was at AM 1080. It was WVCG. And then just after I left, it was the Voice of the People, somewhere around 2008 or
Are
something
you
like that.
from South Florida?
Of
Dan?
course. I'm born and raised in Miami. The Florida
Where?
Keys.
All right.
Keys Dan. That's where that came from.
Okay.
But yes, I was born in Miami. I went to Lake Stevens and St. Monica School in Miami, and in Fort Lauderdale, I went to Western High School, and then I went to the Florida Keys and became a firefighter in addition to the radio and DJ stuff. So there you go. A little bit about me.
You've lived a quite interesting life, my dear.
Well, getting to know you, Charlotte Mckinnon, and people that listen to this podcast, they get little tidbits and little things about what happened in my life, and they get to know me through talking to other people. So that's why I like doing this podcast. It's just learning about folks and building people up and finding out more about. Yes, you are a superstar. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I love your music. I love everything that you do, and it's just I want to know, where did that start? And then people that are listening will go, well, I can do that. I can take that avenue, and it helps other people to achieve their goals. And that's what you're going to be doing, Charlotte Mckinnon, through this podcast, through other things, is helping other people with their goals. You're staying at home, you're taking care of your mama, but you're doing quite a few other things. You said 18, you started in a little band, and you got some music on the radio. That is exciting. Very exciting.
That was very exciting. By the time I graduated, I had 2 songs on the radio, which was Jam on Me and the duet, which was what was the name of the song? Distant Love was the name of the duet.
So I'm class of 86. What class were you?
86. We're the same age.
Hey, class of 86 rules. And I know just after that, I was a baby DJ back then. I did a lot of high school stuff, all the parties. Hey, bring your records over. You gonna help me? Nope. You remember Belial and House Party? I was that guy. Hopefully without the dragon breath.
Oh my goodness.
So 1986, good year for you. Yeah. You get out of high school. Did you go to college at all, or do anything?
I went to Dade South, Miami-Dade Community College. I had initially auditioned for a theater scholarship, and I also auditioned for a dance scholarship. And I was offered both. I took the theater scholarship, and then I stumbled into the gospel ensemble class and started just going on because I had that hour off. And I started going to the class, and I met the director, who was also the dean of humanities, who talked me into auditioning for the music scholarship. So I changed my major the following semester to music. I was granted the music scholarship, and I studied music for about a year and a half. And then I was working a lot and started missing too many classes. So I left school and was working.
Well, you did the gospel. Did you grow up very religious?
I grew up going to church. I wouldn't say very religious, but
Gotcha.
I grew up going to church. But my mom's father was the bishop of a Church of Christ Written in Heaven in Georgia. He had a church. So that it's a big part of our foundation, but I wouldn't say it was we had a heavily religious family.
Right,
so.
Right. Well, I was Catholic. Now I'm American, I guess. You grow.
Yeah. My dad's family's Catholic, so.
Yeah.
I believe in inclusion, so the church that I attend mostly now is kind of non-denominational.
Right.
So yeah,
sounds like people that are searching, just looking for answers of how the why the world is the way it is and how it became, and always looking for answers. And
people just getting together, wanting to serve God, and not.
Now that's the thing I miss a lot is the fellowship. The thing I like about church is the fellowship. You get to meet people, and most of the people are pretty nice, pretty nice people.
At least during that hour.
You got that right. Meet them in the club the night before.
Everybody's on their best behavior at church. So. It's a great community to be a part of and just
Very cool.
and grow in your faith, So that's why I do it. It's something to inspire you and to take you through your week. Sometimes you just need like some inspiration to take you through, and I believe in the word. So, reading your Bible and learning the word and being closer to God in that way, I think that's important too. But everybody has their own way of doing things. And I'm not one to knock anybody, because I'm like, it's a big world out here. And I'm sure God has a lot of ways for us to get to him. That's how I feel about my spirituality. So
very cool, Charlotte Mckinnon.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that piece. So, all right, you got into college. You were going to do theater, and I noticed you have some IMDb credits. We can get into that in a little bit, or we can get into that now if you'd like. I saw on your IMDb you had a couple of credits as yourself mostly.
Mm-hmm.
As let's see, the Blue Hedgers, that looked like something from 2002. What was that? Oh, the Blue Healers. The Blue Healers. Sorry, my eyes. What is the Blue Healers? A TV series.
You've lost me, Dan. I'm like, where are we now?
I'm on your IMDb page, and I'm looking at some of the credits that you had, and you had The In-Laws, and you had Company B. Featuring Quest, Soulja Boy. It's of the video, the video short that you have on there, and then you had Glastonemy from Glastonbury from 2017.
Okay, these are probably clips that people have loaded, or
gotcha.
And my name was attached, so I need to catch up and see where you are. IMDb.
The girl's got an IMDb page. She's got credits on her IMDb. She doesn't even know how much of a superstar she is.
The funny thing, I didn't even know that you could Google me until like maybe 10 years ago. And someone introduced me to this guy who's trying to get me. My friends are always trying to get me married. And someone introduced me to this guy, and he goes, when we first talked on the phone, he goes, so, how long do you plan to be singing and all this stuff? And I'm like, how do you know I'm singing? And he goes, well, I Googled you. And I'm like, you Googled me? You can do that? So, oh my goodness.
You could Google me anytime you like, because Keys Dan likes to be Googled.
Funny.
And yes, I talked about myself in the third person. Actually, I talked about myself in the fourth person because Keys Dan is my stage name. So there.
All righty.
Okay. Well, all right. I derailed this podcast a little bit. Let's go back to college. Forget about all that IMDb stuff.
I just logged in.
We'll get to that.
The In-Laws, the Flatliners. That's a different person. That says Charlotte Mckinnon. See, there are lots of Charlotte McKinnons. I learned that too when I Googled them.
Well, these are the ones that are attributed to you.
The In-Laws was, we were kind of playing ourselves. That was a little segment in that movie where Casey and the Sunshine Band was in the what was it, like the pre-wedding?
Yeah, probably the house band or something.
Yeah, no, well, it was the band it was like a special surprise for the bride and groom to be, and I think it was like the pre-wedding party or something like that. Well,
that would be a special surprise if you showed up with Harry Wayne Casey.
Yeah, so we're there as the surprise for them, and and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. That was the first movie I was ever in.
That's cool.
Yeah, but lots of television appearances with Casey and with when I was touring with J-Lo. I'm skipping ahead a little bit here.
A little bit, a little taste of what's to come.
So we'll go back to college. After college, I left. I was working, doing shows, and then I got a call from a high school friend about a band in the Bahamas.
Oh.
And
what kind of Joe jobs did you do?
For a while. Day jobs?
Yeah, what kind of Joe jobs did you do? Stuff with hairnets?
Well, let's see. I think I worked at Denny's for a day. I
Ah!
didn't like that. Yeah, I wasn't digging that too much. I worked at, do you remember Birdine?
I remember Burdines.
I worked at Birdines in high school, in the photography studio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did the one
Hmm.
at Walmart, which is also the Sears studio.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I did.
And yeah, I worked there, and I worked as a camp counselor in high school, as like the dance coach for the kids there.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much all the day jobs. Oh, I think I worked at a hair salon for a little bit. A friend of mine had a hair salon, and I was his receptionist for a little while.
All right. Well,
But
if you didn't become
it
Charlotte
was like,
McKinnon,
no, not
super
really
singer,
many.
yeah, if you didn't become super singer, which one of those four jobs do you think could have sustained you for the rest of your life without causing you too much havoc in your head?
I don't think I'd have stayed at any of those.
Hey, not,
I would probably have moved to the Keys and found a job down there with some resort or some on the beach somewhere. Because I
oh, we'd
like
have
to
been
be
working together down
outside.
there. Yes,
I like
yes.
to be outside, and I don't know. Music always kept finding its way back into my life, even when I thought I was giving it up.
All right. Well, let's go to the Bahamas since that's part of your heritage. You're part of
Hmm.
your dad's homeland, I guess. You said you went to the Bahamas with a
I went to
band.
the Bahamas. I stayed in Nassau for a few months and worked with a band there called High Voltage, which later became the Baha Men.
Oh no, that's
Who
great.
let the dogs out?
Well, maybe you can answer that fine question because I never did find out who let the dogs out.
It was probably Isaiah. He was the
Okay.
leader of the band. He probably let the dogs out.
Yes, we're going to blame Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah, for answering the question. Thank you, Charlotte McKinnon, for answering the question. Who let the dogs
That's
out? I've
funny.
been wondering that and that little earworm that gets in
For
my
all those
head.
years. Yeah. I came back to Miami, and I got pregnant with my daughter,
Hey.
and so I had it, my daughter Erica. She's my sun and my stars and my moon and all that stuff. She's a sweetie. She's 29 now.
Wow, that had to change your life completely.
That did. And it slowed things down for a minute and just kind of gave me perspective on, what was really important to me. And
For sure.
so
What is
yeah, I
Erica
slowed
doing?
down
You can
quite a
brag on
bit.
her.
Erica does uh um she does like installations for events. So what do you call that?
Well, I guess,
Um,
yeah, just setting up for events and stuff.
But she does these art installations for them. So
Wow.
she's been doing them. And she's just an artsy fartsy kind of kid. And well, she's not a kid anymore. She's always gonna be my kid. I still call her a kid.
Well, being from
Um,
Coconut Grove, artsy fartsy is the way to go. If you and for this is for the listeners. If you're taking the walking tour of the What Makes You Famous podcast, if you get to Coconut Grove, you'll know exactly what I mean. You go in there, and it's just it's very bohemian for the Bohemians. If I can pronounce those two words kind of identically. Yeah,
That's
so
fun.
yeah, growing up in Coconut Grove, I'm guessing you had a little bit of an art feel to it,
Hmm.
and did you raise Erica in the same place?
Yeah, I think so. I think she was exposed to a lot of art, visually and musically, and uh, so she studied theater quite a bit. She loved the theater, so she took lots of lessons. She went to theater camp at She did the Coral Gables children's um, theater there, and she just kept. That's what she kept busy with. And then she went to school, but unlike, but just like mom, she dropped out.
Hey, I went to college a bunch of times, just enough to do, just enough to get my radio license, just enough to get my firefighting license, just enough to get to my paramedic license. I wasn't going to go all the way. So I'm kind of an on-the-job type of person myself. You get into a job and you learn from the people that are there. And you, as a performer, you could learn on the job and perfect your craft as you're going.
Yeah, that's possible. You have to be very astute, though.
Yes, I mean,
I think
hey,
you learn
anybody.
a lot. I think you learn a lot in school, and you learn a lot hands-on. But it depends on the person.
Oh, anybody who loves math, please do math. Save the world. Go be a scientist. Love it. I'm not that guy. But I do appreciate the people that are.
Yes.
So, all right. So, bragging on Erica, continue.
So, that's on Erica. She's recently engaged.
Hey, all right.
And her fiance also does the art installations. He does them around the world. He's on a little bigger scale. They do a lot of projects together as well. But
wow.
Yeah, so
well, that's
her
great.
life.
The arts is wonderful.
She lives in New York.
Oh, okay. All right. So she got out of Miami and went to an even bigger town.
Yeah. I guess she loves it because she's been gone for 10 years now.
Wow. Oh, I hope you get to talk to her all the time.
Yes.
All right. Erica, call your mama.
We're very close. And she loves podcasts, so she's going to love this.
Getting to know a little bit more about Mom. Well, if we want to, we could dig into all the crazy stuff that you did as a kid. Now.
Oh my goodness!
But that's entirely up to you.
Yeah. After having Erica slow down a little bit, I wasn't recording as much. I did do some recordings between leaving Company B, because Company B, remember, was during high school.
Let's go with that. Company B, you started in '86.
Yeah, that was like during high school, and then before I could enter college, I was replaced in the group. So
right,
that was short lived.
Right, but you still did come up with the one song, right?
I sang on Jam on Me,
yes.
And I sang Fascinated.
Right.
And there was another song that a friend of mine recently sent to me that I don't think it was ever released, but there was a YouTube clip for it, so maybe it was released on some kind of obscure.
Well, was the YouTube clip live or was it?
No, it wasn't live. It was just the song on YouTube, and it said Company B. It's called Turned Up, and he plays it and he goes, "Charlotte, is this you?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I don't even remember that." So I had to listen to it like 4 or 5 times before I could really even recognize my voice. Mind you, that's like 30 years ago.
Right.
More than 30 years ago. So that was pretty weird. So Jam on Me and Fascinated are the only songs that I sang on that made it onto their album that they didn't take my voice off of.
Okay.
After I was no longer in the group.
But you still got some credit for it, or you didn't, or how did that work out?
They tried not to give me credit. So I had to kind of do my homework and make sure that worked out for me. It took a very long while.
Well, I know that the girl groups that they were making back then, it was kind of a thing. I think they did Expose as well, and there was a rotating members in that.
Yep.
And they had the same kind of pitfalls with getting credit as well.
Back then, the groups were producer driven, and freestyle was more of a DJ driven type in genre of music back then. So it was not much love for the artist, but I stuck with it, and eventually I got acknowledgement and credit for it, so it all worked out.
I can see it on the Wikipedia page for sure that you are credited as being part of Company B, and you got back together with them a little more recently.
For a short period of time, yes.
Bit. Okay.
I I was the person that brought the group back and initially. And well, I was approached from a Casey concert. After a Casey concert, Casey would introduce the band, and he would say that I was the original voice of this song, and he goes, "You might remember it," and I would sing a little piece of it. So there was some freestyle promoter in the audience of one of the shows, and then he later contacted me and asked if I would do a show. So I was still very good friends with Susan, and I asked her if she wanted to do it, and I included my good friend Rachel Leslie, who lives out in Vegas now.
I got you. Yes, that's right.
I got Rachel involved with us, and we went out and did some shows, and then that kind of took its own direction. And I just continued with what I was doing, and now Susan is running the group.
Well, by all accounts, Susan Gonzalez Johnson, she is wonderful. I appreciate seeing all her stuff come up on social media as well, and she really is promoting the Company B band, for that matter. But it was such a hoot. Yeah, it was such a hoot to see you guys there, and I remember. I guess you performed at a skating rink when I first. When you first came back together, if that's correct.
Our very first show was at the AAA for Freestyle Explosion.
Gotcha. I don't think I made it to that event, but all right. Well, yes, 1987 when that song came out, and I'm sure you had some mixed feelings on that when it was, number one, and you weren't getting credit there. But moving on. From 1987, where did you go?
I had a few singles that I released. I think Thief in the Night was the first one, and Dance to the Rhythm and Honeybee.
Can we get a hold of these songs anywhere?
Yeah, they're all available on iTunes.
Okay, and they're all under Discology?
They're under the Discology, and they're also discography, and they're also available. You can find the videos on YouTube for those, and they're on iTunes, I know for sure.
Well, I'm finding all the links so I can put them on the show notes for sure.
I'm trying to think of what other songs I had during that time. Let's see.
It's kind of hard to come up with them off the top of your head.
Yeah.
But certainly you stayed active in music.
Very much so. So after those singles is when I left I was kind of waiting out the end of that record deal.
Right.
And I left, and that's when I went to the Bahamas.
Yes.
I come back from the Bahamas, and I was being a mom.
Yes, you were.
And then I started doing just like local gigs, just put a few bucks in my pocket, and to keep singing and figure out where I was going to go next. So what
kind of local gigs? Did you do bars or weddings, bar mitzvahs? County fairs?
Everything. A little of everything. I worked with a gentleman named Alan Harris, who's a jazz singer. I sang back up with Alan, and he would feature us occasionally. And then I also sang at Monty's. I started at Monty's in Coconut Grove, where I have been back and forth in that place since like 1991.
I like that.
So anytime, like in between tours and everything, the only time that I wasn't there for a long stint was like when I was on tour for the 12 years I was out with Casey.
Okay. How did Casey start? Let's go there since you keep mentioning. Oh, okay, you're getting to that. Okay. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, Charlotte Mckinnon. I want to know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So after I was doing local gigs, clubs around town, the Clevelander, and
that's cool.
some wedding bands, and lots of other stuff. I did a lot of session work, during that time too, when I wasn't
what does session work entail?
Recording myself, background vocals for other singers.
Oh, I like that.
I hooked up with two very talented young men, Kiki Garcia and Hector Almaguer. Kiki wrote what's it? Oe, Oe. That's his famous
line.
Conga. Yeah, he was the percussionist, the original percussionist in that
Come
band.
on,
So
that song is
I
all
hooked up,
percussion. Good
yeah,
job.
I hooked up with him and with the two of them and was doing quite a bit of session work. So I was doing a lot of stuff on the Latin market, um, backgrounds for a lot of artists on the Latin
Oh,
scene. And so
I
I have a
like
little
that.
back. I have a little backstory to my Spanglish. So on my job at Burdines, it was commission based.
Uh huh.
So we got a small salary, and then you make commission on how many sales you could make. And during the week, you would call and try to make appointments. And on the weekends, you'd go down and hand out the gift certificates to people, and then you'd come up and you get their information and come up and call them during the week to get them to come in and do a photo shoot. So there was we learned a script,
Uh huh.
and there was a Spanish script. And being in South Florida, and I worked at the downtown store on Miami Avenue in Flagler, right on the middle.
Yeah.
And when
Think I've
ground
been in
zero
that
right
store.
here. when I couldn't, I wasn't getting enough appointments because I didn't speak Spanish. So I took the Spanish script home and learned it. I listened to them say it enough. And, having a musician's ear, I could just kind of mimic
Yeah.
and pretty much sound Spanish. So I learned that script. And my supervisor was so impressed. I got employee of the week for like a whole month.
How did that feel?
That was great. It was so funny. And she was like, I can't believe this girl. She doesn't speak a lick of Spanish, but I could speak just enough. I could say just enough of the script to get their information and then pass it along to somebody so it would still be my appointment. That was kind of cool.
All right, Charlotte McKinnon, you kind of just glossed over it. It doesn't matter how big of a star you become. It's nice to be recognized by your peers. It's nice to get those accolades. So, yay, Burdines, you recognized. She did a good job, and you
That
gave
was
her a little
fun.
award.
Well, so when I met Kiki and Hector,
Yes.
they're like, do you speak any Spanish? And I'm like, no, but I can learn
Right.
phonetically. And they go, okay, so we'll try something. So they brought me in, and I started doing background vocals for artists like El Puma and
Cool.
Azuco Moreno.
That's great.
Azuca Moreno. They had a big hit called Mambo, and I sang all the backgrounds and all the ad libs, and then it led to them winning a Latin Grammy and getting a Diet Coke commercial, and then I got called to come back and do all the backing vocals for the Diet Coke commercial, which ran for almost a year internationally. So
Yeah.
that was a nice little paycheck.
Yeah. So what felt better, getting the Burdines Award or getting that Latin Grammy?
It's all the same to me. It's like how much work you put in this
Yes.
work, and then you get to see results coming back. So it's pretty much, I try to look at it all the same. If I'm working with Casey and the Sunshine Band, or if I'm working at Monty's, I try to put in the same effort, because that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. Monty's is a chance for me to practice for those other gigs. You know?
For those people listening, whatever you do, do it well. Excel. Be like Charlotte McKinnon. Be the best. If you're going to do it right, right?
I had this phrase. Someone asked me if I was going to try to sing forever. Aren't you going to try to do something else? Because you can't, try to become a star your whole life.
What?
And that's like, I'm going to sing for $2 or $2 million.
Yeah. Yeah, people ask me, you're 50 now. You should stop DJing. I don't think you're in touch with the kids. I just did a prom, and I think I'm plenty in touch. I don't think I'll stop. Just keep going.
Right.
So
I know that.
the performer's got to perform. The show must go on. All those cliches. It's true.
So we did, who else did we do? We did, Did I say Cheyenne? Yeah.
Yeah.
De Blasio. There
Wow.
was some songs on his album, and so that was fun. And
Yeah, these are some big Latin artists, and you're in Miami, in the heart of it. Just to, there's three or four different places in this country that you think of when you're thinking of where the famous people go. Where do you go to record? Where do you go to make it? Yes, you can go to Hollywood, you can go to New York, you can go to Miami, Nashville if you want to do the country stuff. So, but you're in it. You've probably met so many people and worked with so many people down there. This is just my imagination. You can confirm or deny anything. But Charlotte Mckinnon, we're going through your life. You're a Latin backup singer in addition to your credits. That's fantastic.
yeah. So that also led to there was a young lady, Anita Wilson, that sometimes came in and I would do sessions with her. I guess they used her, for other music as well. And she was connected with the Stefan camp. So she was over there doing a lot of work at their studio. And when Juan Cicada was starting his career.
Oh, you mean when they Americanized him and said John Cicada?
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I still call him Juan. But so because I remember, the guys that I sang with at Monty's were all from UM. They all went to UM together, and Juan went to UM, and he. So he was friends with them, and from time to time he would come into Monty. So I had met him before, and so when his career was taking off, and they were working on that first album, Anita called me to come in and do some vocals over there. So I got to sing on Juan's album as well, a couple songs, like I think 3 songs on his album, on his first album.
Yeah, that album was great. I remember. I think I met them in Key Largo. They did something down there. And, they did, If You Go and Angel, and he had some great hits on there. Very smooth.
Very
and
good.
And you had some background?
I sang background on 3 songs. I don't really remember. Let me see.
And he had Spanish versions of his songs.
Featuring and presentation. Let me see if it shows up on this discog. No, I don't see it on here, but I know one of them was I can't remember. I can't even call him right now.
Oh, I know. He had some hits, though. So, all right, just a shout out to John Cicada. Look him up as well and find his hits from back then. I think it was in the 90s when he was doing his big stuff. And that was produced by the Estefans, right?
Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
I just put in vocal credits on Discogs. And John Cicada... it just says his name. It doesn't tell me the songs.
Yeah, that's fine.
It says Azuka Moreno's listed, Company B. Okay. Wow, some of these songs I don't even remember. Fly away.
Looks like Charlotte Mckinnon is discovering things about herself that she didn't know she was credited with.
So look, here is Distant Love is listed here first.
Yes.
And the singer's name was Will Cammon, which I don't think he's with us anymore.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Will Cammon was the person I did the duet with. That is crazy. I don't even own a copy of that anymore.
That's beautiful.
That is crazy.
Well, I'm glad we brought them up. Good.
There is something else here. I missed a group. Well, yeah, it was after this. It was so after all of that, and I started back at doing shows, and I was doing the background stuff. I got a call to audition for this group. I would go on like random auditions every now and then.
This is somewhere around the mid-90s?
Early 90s.
Okay.
Early 90s. And I was working at Monty's at the time. And a friend of mine called me, and first thing he sent me on was to audition for some movie that never happened. I got the part, but it never happened. And then he sent me out to be an extra in a commercial, and Pele was the star. It was like a Coke commercial or something. I can't remember exactly. Pepsi, I think.
Pepsi.
And Pele was the star of the commercial, so that was kind of cool.
Pele hasn't played soccer in 20 years. He's still the name for soccer.
Right.
Whenever you think of soccer, you go,
you know exactly who he is. Yeah. And then the third call I got from him was to go and audition for this girls group. And I'm like, do I really want to be in a girls group again? So I went and I landed the gig, and it was, I was actually replacing a singer because they were already had an album and had been doing shows and had a song on the radio. And they were ready to release a second single, and they were replacing a girl. So, and the group was called 3 Times Love.
Okay, all right. Probably never heard of them.
And that song should be available on iTunes, but I'm not exactly sure. I have to check that out. But I know there's a video on YouTube for 3 Times Love.
So, how did you feel? Did it feel like deja vu all over again? When you were going into another girl group, being produced by a DJ, a record producer?
It was a little different.
Okay.
Because it was number one, it was a different genre. Yes. And then there was another strong singer in the group. Like with Company B, there wasn't.
Company B, you kind of all shared the reins, the lead, right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I'll limit that. But
so this new group, 3 Times Love.
New group, yeah, they had other strong singers. So, but this, the follow-up single was one that I was able to sing. So that was the next song that was released in the video, and that was fun. And we toured. It was a smaller operation. R&B wasn't as it didn't cross over as big as it does now. The R&B is almost just as big as pop now. So
when you say toured, where did you go?
We toured in just the country. So mostly the Southeast region and the East Coast. But we did a few shows in the Midwest.
I like
as well.
That. But as a touring musician, okay, now, all right, let's go into a little personal there. Where did Erica stay? Because as a touring musician, you got to give up a lot of things.
So very much so. So that was difficult initially because she was very young,
right?
And my family helped her. Her grandmother, my mom, helped a lot with her, and her father's mom as well, and her aunt, his sister Jillian, she took Erica for a couple months. I remember one time when I was gone, and Erica stayed in Connecticut with her and her soon-to-be cousin.
Hey.
And so it was always family. I was very fortunate in that regard. But for the most part, throughout my career, it has been my mother.
It's good to have people backing you up. Yes.
Yeah, I trusted her the most with Erica, and that is pretty much why I'm living with my mom at this time, because, we were back and forth a lot, and when after Erica left for school, I stayed here because I was still touring, and it just made sense. And now that she's older, and needs help, I was already here, and it just worked out the way it was supposed to.
No, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Family is important. If there's anyone that's going to back you up more than anybody else, it's probably your family. You can't choose them. You may not always get along with them, but it's family.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, family to me is, if you have a close-knit family, that's great. But if you don't, you can acquire that. You can build a family with your friends, and, just choose them wisely, and make a community for yourself with people that are like-minded, that have the same values, and, you can create that as well. It doesn't always work out for people that it's their immediate family or blood relatives,
Do you feel like you've developed a lot of good friendships, a lot of good relationships throughout the years?
Yes, of course.
You can count on?
Mm-hmm.
You got a few people you want to shout out or
There's too many to call.
That's true. That's true. If you miss one, they're gonna go, oh.
Yeah, I know. I have a lot of very close friends still from high school
Wow,
and
that's
college
great.
days, and from the groups that I've been in, so, and other, musicians that I've worked with over the years that, we're still pretty close. And nowadays with social media, you can just keep up with people in that way. You don't even have to make phone calls or visit as much like you used to have to. So,
Well, and that's another reason that I developed this podcast is I like to talk to people. I found myself putting my face in my phone a lot, and I said, you know what? I'm not having any real deep conversations with people, and I think this is a way to fix that in my life. So I'm having a deep conversation with Charlotte Mckinnon and finding out more, and then my listeners are getting to find out more about you as well. So yeah, that's deep. You're getting deep. I like that.
We're going deep.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's
touring
3 times.
musicians, giving up their families a little bit, and mom helped you out, and now you're helping mom.
My mom. Yep.
So
My mom.
you did the Southeast tour with 3 Times
with
Love.
3 Times Love, and our song was I can't believe I keep having these brain farts.
You have so many
our
songs.
Song was I Wanna Groove. I Wanna Groove by 3 Times Love. We were on tour with SWV.
Oh, that's great.
And Troop. And I remember we would do shows at conventions because back then they had a lot of conventions. The BRE and the Jack the Rapper, and these were all like R&B conventions. And I remember being on the lineup with Mary J. Blige at one time. So
how'd that feel?
Was pretty cool. That was cool. And Christopher Williams. There were so many acts that we, kind of were on the same billings with at that time, and it was nice. Well, it was. I was always really just observant, watching everybody and how they conducted themselves, and trying to pay attention to their performances. When we had a chance to see them, because sometimes if it's a really big lineup, they're moving people in and out, and you don't really get a chance to watch everybody perform. But or you're off to your next thing. You've got interviews or whatever. Can be really, really hectic at times, but I just tried to pay attention to what was going on and how the ship was run, who's in charge, and who's the creative one and who's the most vocal, and just kind of paying attention to the things that they're saying, how they treat their fans, all those things. I was just taking it in. Yeah, that's where I would find myself most of the time.
Charlotte Mckinnon, you can do the best job that you want to do. You can be the best performer, give the best performance that you can give. But then when you work with people that are on this other level, you got to kind of learn to see what they're doing, and how do I get to that next step? And that's
even people that aren't even opening acts. I feel like there's something to learn from everybody, and
Absolutely.
I would just pay attention. So, sometimes everybody be off to go and try to get pictures with or autographs from the stars that just perform, and there's another opening act before they bring on the next big star. And I'm trying to watch the performance because that's where my head was at.
One of the great things about sitting backstage is to learn about the sound and how they set up and how they make their marks and how they move across the stage and interact with the crowd. And you pick that one person out there and you touch their hand, and wow, that you just made that whole person's life by touching their hand.
Yep.
You have that power when you're up there on that stage. So you did this tour with 3 Times
Did that
Love.
tour, and that was a lot of fun, and
Big
the
one.
girls were fun, and we got our stories. Everybody has their stories, and it was great. And we did our music video for that, which was the first time I had done a music video, because I missed all that with the Company B. And that was a lot of fun.
Tell me about that music video. Where was it?
It was shot here in South Florida. We got a few locations that we did. Our manager at the time was Louis Oliver from the played for the Dolphins. I think, what was Louis, a safety?
I don't.
Please don't. Please don't.
Well, I'm
Don't
looking
mess
up that video right now
Louis,
for Three
I'm
Times
sorry.
Love.
I know he's probably not even listening, but some his fans
Oh, he might.
be.
This thing lives
They're
out
gonna
there
correct
forever. But I'm looking at this video for Three Times Love. I Want to Groove. It's on.
Oh, cool.
It's on YouTube, and there you are, Charlotte McKinnon, in all your glory, dancing around in a shower.
So we part of it was shot at their camp.
Okay.
At the Dolphins camp.
Yeah.
And
in the locker room, I see that.
Yeah.
And on the field.
Over at Bayside and out on a boat. We had a good time.
And on a boat. Look at you on a boat.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, So we did a lot of sports events and, playing at benefits and stuff that they had they were doing fundraisers and all those types of things. We did a lot. And that was all fun.
That looks like a lot of fun. And, you make a couple bucks while you're at it.
And we were still young, and my daughter's in the video at the end.
That's super.
Yep. I think my sister was in it. I had all my people in it.
Well, that's what you do. You tap on your family first. I just mentioned it. The first thing when you're trying to get projects off the ground, you tap your family. Yeah. Hey, even if it's to help me lift this furniture, put this set together. And Erica knows how to put sets together. How about that?
Yes, she does. Because like I said, she's been around it her whole life. So
yes.
Yeah.
So you definitely added. You definitely. We're instrumental in her career that she's in now, is teaching her about sets and putting things together in artistic ways.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. And I found that video, Three Times Love. Look it up, 3X Love, 1993. I Want to Groove. It's being hosted on Zeke62 Nostalgia YouTube. So find that.
There's a few of them out there. It's the same video, of course, but yeah. So after Three Times Love kind of diminished.
Okay.
I went back to Monty's, and I hung out there for a while and went back to doing like my session work and then picking up, random gigs around. Did that for a while, and I wanted to be home because I wanted to be with Erica.
Yes.
And, so for, I guess, like the next 7 or 8 years, I was home.
I'm glad you developed this relationship with Monty's, and that's great that you have a place that you can go and play and perfect your craft and entertain people while you're at it. This is so nice. Big ups to Monty's for giving you a home.
Time. And it's home because it's 5 minutes from my house.
Yes, exactly.
It's outside, which is one of the requirements for me.
Yeah,
I love being outdoors, and it's an outdoor gig, so I just love it. And so I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. And I know it's a rough life sometimes as a musician when you're not on tour. If you're a touring musician, even for the musicians here at home, they struggle during the summertime because that's not our season, No,
it's hot.
So everything slows down, and because the weather's nice everywhere, so people are having events in their own cities. Correct. They're not flying here to do it, and so that's less gigs for them. And usually the musicians are hurting. They're getting temp jobs and, doing whatever they got to do to hold on for the summertime. And I used to be on tour during the summer. So I'd be out on tour in the summer and I'd come home and work during the rest of the year. And that worked out for me for a long time. That's why I've been able to maintain. But so after leaving, I came back to Monty's. I hung around. I did, more session work stuff. And then I ran off to Cancun, and I was doing a gig over there for a few months. And
I want to run off to Cancun. How did you end up there?
Actually, a friend was calling, looking for one of the singers from Three Times Love to do that gig, actually. And we couldn't find her. and she just wasn't available. And so when he couldn't find her, I was like, well, what is it for? And so I went.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to work with this young lady that I met previously. She was doing cruise ships. Her name is Donna Huntley.
Okay.
Come to find out, she had been a member of, let me start here. So when I met her, she comes to Monty's with one of my fellow musicians. They were friends, close friends. They had toured together, I think, with Cheyenne. Oh. And he brings her to Monty's. She's hanging out, and she's like, Charlotte Mckinnon? The Charlotte McKinnon? And I'm just looking like, okay, yeah, right, whatever. And she's like, no, you sang Fascinated. And I'm looking at her, and I looked at my friend, and he goes, I didn't tell her that. And she goes, I know Ish. She goes, I was actually in the group. So
okay.
She was in the group later, years later, I guess, after Susan had left or something. So she was there for a while.
Sure is. Says 1989 to 1990.
Donna Huntley.
There she is.
So we became really good friends. And when I found out that she was on that gig, I'm like, I'm definitely going because I want a chance to work with her. She's done those cruise ships. So she was putting her own shows together for a while. She had her own show on the cruise lines. And I think that she had worked like 10 plus years on the cruise lines, and she, it's phenomenal.
That's got to be an interesting life, working on cruise lines, surrounded by water, and not being able to get off of that cruise ship.
Well, when they port, you do. You get to go and see the city when they port with everybody else. So
right.
So she, I got together with her and got to watch her work because she put our show together, and she was like, anything you want to learn? She goes, why are you here? She was always asking me questions like that. So we just became really good friends. And then we started like exchanging books with each other and just getting into these really deep conversations. And she just was someone that really, really inspired me, became one of my mentors. And when we left Cancun, I said, okay, I'm ready to go and do something else. I want to travel. I knew I didn't want to do the cruise ships, and I needed something that was conducive to my lifestyle because I have a daughter.
Now, this with Donna Huntley, was that on a cruise ship or was that directly in Cancun?
It was just in Cancun. We had a show called Las Divas. And we performed at the convention center and a few other venues. And then when that show was over, she and I just there were three of us at first, and then the other young lady left after the first show ran. Right. And then the two of us put some shows together, and she spoke a little Spanish, so we enlisted some dancers and got costumes, and we did like we would do these shows around town, so it was kind of cool.
Very cool.
We did a tribute to like Gloria Estefan on one show. We did a tribute to Janet Jackson on another show. It was a lot of fun, and just paying attention to. She was teaching me about the lighting, about staging, about dialogue, and I had to write everything out, and it really helped me step my game up as a performer, so I will always be grateful to her for that. Yeah. And when I came back from that, I had decided that I was ready to do something else. I didn't know what, I didn't know how,
right.
I was remaining open to it, and I was turning down all these gigs that were coming my way, just, the local gigs again. And
so what was coming your way? I mean, people were calling and saying, Charlotte Mckinnon, can you do this for me?
Yeah, just the local gigs again. Be in this R&B band, be in this pop band, be in this wedding band, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not available right now, but I can help you until you find someone. Right. I still take some work, but I'm not going to commit to this right now because I'm looking to do something else. Oh, well, what are you trying to do? I'm like, I haven't figured that out yet.
Right. Nothing in your head?
Nothing was in my head at all. I was leaving that open for the universe, because that's how I felt about it. I just felt that whatever it was going to be bigger than something that I could imagine. I didn't know what it was. And that's the energy that I was putting out there. I just said, it's going to be bigger than something I'm going to imagine. So I'm not even going to bother to imagine it. I'm just going to say I'm open right now. And that's what I did. And for 20 days, I did that. And on the 20th day, I got a phone call, and it was to go and be a sub for Casey and the Sunshine Band.
What? What year was this?
This was 99.
99. Life could be changing right now.
So, I mean, there were other things in the interim. There was this group, La Bouche. Their singer took off for a minute, and they wanted me to come, but I had Erica, so they were in Europe.
Right.
That didn't work for me, and a few other things too, and then I just had to turn down. So, because I wanted to be around my daughter, and when I went out with Casey, it was for a weekend, and they called me and said, "Can you cover these 3 days?" And I'm like, hell yeah. So Casey and the Sunshine Band, are you kidding me?
Right.
And so I'm like, I love that music. So I started listening to everything, and then they send me the music, and I met up with them at the studio, rehearsal studio, South Florida rehearsal studio, one of our favorite spots to go and rehearse all bands around town.
That's the name of the place, South Florida?
Yeah, South Florida Rehearsal Studios. Been rehearsing there for as long as I can remember with almost every band that I've been in.
Well, I've always liked Casey because we share the same birthday.
January 31st. January 31st, yes.
And I'm from Opelika, Hialeah, in that same area.
Okay, nice. So after the weekend, I did the gig, and Casey was really nice. When I first met him, I met him actually. Didn't meet him until soundcheck the first show, which was at the House of Blues in Chicago.
Oh, okay. All the way to Chicago.
All the way to Chicago was the first show, and I can't remember really where the second two shows were.
It's like you're living 20 minutes away from each other in Miami, and you meet each other in Chicago.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd?
I had rehearsed with the band and the other singer, Maria De Crescenzo.
Okay.
The lovely Maria, with a voice from God.
Oh, she's amazing.
That voice.
Yes.
And so we do the show, and Casey is hilarious. He's just smiling at me the entire time. His face is lit up. Yes. And I'm like, wow, he's a really friendly guy. Is he always like this? And everybody's just laughing, whatever. He's, he was happy. And then he asked me, could I do the following weekend? And I'm like, sure, and I'm like, okay. So then after that weekend, they asked if I could stay on.
But this is also in Chicago? You stayed a week in Chicago?
No, we were in a different city every day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Every day.
Every show, you're usually in a different city. Yes. But his schedule was mostly weekends and summers.
Yes.
So that was something that could work for me.
Yes. And
I could be there at PTA meetings and, school plays, and take her to school in the morning. And, I was like, this could work. Mm-hmm. So, and that lasted 12 years.
Wow.
From 1 weekend to 12 years. And Erica, graduated from high school while I was with Casey. And
amazing.
Yep.
So not only did you find an amazing job in the entertainment business, you found a job that worked around your schedule as a parent.
Yep.
Hello. The best of every world, Charlotte Mckinnon.
When you believe and you open yourself up to it, I think good things can happen. But you got to have the faith, and you got to exercise it, and you got to, you got to put your work in, of course. I had been working all those years trying to become the best performer that I could be, and trying to have the best attitude about it. It was really difficult after I left Company B not to be bitter about music. I was at one point, but, I learned to let that go.
Right.
And keep it moving.
Yeah, a lot of people, believe that if you put it out into the universe, it will come back to you. And indeed, It seems like that's what happened, Charlotte McKinnon, for you.
You never know when it's going to happen, though. It can happen 30 years later. It can happen the next day. You never know, but you got to remain open to it, you know? And that's not always easy with the rest of life going on around you.
You were talking about KC when you first got back together with Company B, and he would give you a shout out and you would sing a little bit of Fascinated. I got to see that firsthand. You were probably 30 feet away from me when KC said, "Hey, here's Charlotte McKinnon. She's of Company B." And then you came out and belted out Fascinated. Could you do it
in a higher key?
Could you do it? Could you do it right now? Just, I know you're not warmed up. Oh my goodness! Just do it. Do it for me.
I'm fascinated by your love toy.
Yes. Oh, those chills. They came right back.
Not warmed up at all.
Right back up my spine.
Back then, when we were playing, I forget what song we were playing at the end. Was it Give It Up? No, it wasn't Give It Up. It was some kind of jam we were doing when he does the intros. So it's the jam was in a higher key than what Fascinated is in. And I didn't know that. I'm just belting right. But you know, when you're on stage, your adrenaline is way up. So you're able to do some things you probably didn't think you could do.
Hey, I don't know these things. I'm no singer. You are. You are the singer, Charlotte McKinnon.
It was the keyboard player, Nick Marinovich, who's a really good friend of mine. He goes by Nick Marino now.
Okay.
He's got an awesome career. You can follow him. You can look him up on YouTube. You can Google him.
Shout out Nick Marino.
Marino. So he was the keyboard player then, and he goes, "Charlotte, you know you're singing this song like it's higher than the key that it's in." And I was like, "Oh my goodness," you know. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, hats off to Nick, hats off to Casey for all the opportunities that he afforded me, you know, a better life for me and my daughter, and allowing me to stay in music and on that level, you know, and all the great shows that we did, being on TV and a movie and a commercial, and just so many opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten just hanging around here in Miami, or who knows, over in Europe where, you know,
you could have been with LaBouche.
Yep.
You could have said, "Be my lover" in that LaBouche.
Yep. Wanna be my lover. Yep, that's it.
That's them.
So that was a great time. And you know, so I joined KC, I want to say May 99. In December, early December that year, I got a call from my friend Rachel Leslie. That I mentioned before. She and I were good friends. We met at the Clevelander. She was a cocktail waitress and I was singing in the band, and she goes, "I'm a singer." I'm like, "Well, come up and sing something." So at the end of the night, I brought her up and she sang a song and blew us all away. And we were like, "Damn, this girl can sing."
Yeah.
So she was already singing, you know, with other bands and stuff, but she was a cocktail waitress there on Sunday nights when we played. And then we started using her to sub for the other girl that wasn't Sherry, when Sherry wasn't there. And so Rachel and I became really, really good friends, and we just connected immediately, and we stayed in touch with each other. She moved away to Vegas, and she gets a call to go on tour with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh.
And they asked her who would she want to sing with, and she said, "You got to call Charlotte." So they called me. All my gigs have come through referrals from other musicians and friends that I know.
That's why you got to be nice to people all the time. Be a good person. You never know. So they might help you pay your rent one day. You know, it's possible.
3 Times Love was the only gig that I ever auditioned for. You know, so, well, I flew out to LA and went to the rehearsals. You know, I downloaded a bunch of her stuff. Well, I went out and purchased, as I wasn't that technically savvy in 99 for downloading, but I went out and purchased her CDs and started listening to all her songs, and flew out to LA and, you know, went through a few rehearsals. Casey had a couple weeks off, so I went and we did 2 weeks rehearsal, 1 week in LA, 1 week in New York, and then we flew to Europe and did some shows. And it was the Love Don't Cost a Thing tour. She was launching her J-Lo brand, the perfume in her clothing. And she was also promoting which movie was it? I want to say Made in Manhattan.
Let's go with that.
I think it was that movie.
Excellent.
So she was promoting a movie, and that she's such a savvy businesswoman. Like I paid attention to that too. Like,
yeah, I imagine. I imagine you learned a lot from Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, from everybody. She would, when she doesn't tour constantly like Casey and everybody, but when she has a record, she does her promotional tour. She drops
the movie career.
She drops her other products line. She always launches a campaign for them at the same time as she's doing her musical promotion. And then the movie was coming, everything comes out at the same time. And she goes and does one big, promotional thing and comes back. So, we get to Europe and there's this big private jet with her name on it. And we're flying through Europe on a private plane, and it was so much fun, and meeting all those people, and everybody was really excited because it was she was huge at that time.
Yeah, just flying on a private plane with Jennifer Lopez, no big deal. In Europe, no big deal, no problem.
Yeah, and she was friendly, and we were the only girls besides like her stylist and makeup artist, because the dancers were male and the rest of the band members were male. So we were the only other girls. So at times she would invite us to come and hang out with her, so that was fun. And we'd go up and sit in her little first class section, which was like 2 huge couches that led out to beds. I was like, nah, this is dope.
Yeah, this is the life. Okay, this is what I've been working for.
Yeah, or when, we're doing our fittings, we have a little girl powwow with her when the girls, like the guys would come and do their fittings, and then we would come and she would come in and what your girls wearing? What y'all, she was friendly with us. So that was very nice. And I remember one really nice thing she did. It was after that tour, we were in New York rehearsing for was it? Yeah, we're rehearsing for Saturday Night Live.
Oh.
And it was close to Valentine's, I think. And Luther Vandross walks in.
What?
And he serenades her. This is when she was dating Puffy. So he serenades her as a gift from Puffy, and she's just smitten. She was like, oh my God, is this for real? And I was like, yes, girl, you better enjoy it. So we're all sitting there, and she's being so sweet. So we're sitting there watching her, get serenaded to by Luther Vandross. It's a jaw-dropping moment. And afterwards, she was like, come sit with me. And we went over and sat with her, and we're talking with her and everything. And I think she had just gotten a cover of a magazine or something. So I had gone out and bought it. I'm like, can you sign this for me? And she's like, yes, of course. And I get a phone call from home, and my daughter's on the phone, and she's like, you have a kid? Oh my God. And you're out here with me? Let me talk to her.
What? That's
and
so
she
sweet.
talked to Erica on the phone.
That's so sweet. And how old was Erica at this time?
Like 9 or 10.
9 or 10. Did she have any awareness of who Jennifer Lopez was? I guess.
Of course.
Guess she had some kind of awareness. Sure she did.
Of course.
That's fantastic. To tell the kids at school next day, hey, I just talked to J-Lo on the phone. No big deal.
Yeah, so she signed it to Erica, and that was a moment.
Well, I got to give it up to Sean Puffy Combs, setting the bar high. Why don't you set Luther Vandross?
Making us all look bad. Making us all look bad. Who can keep up with that?
Come on, man.
Wow. And just I had been to several of Luther's concerts, and to hear him and see him in person like that, and he was kind, he said, I don't mind everybody staying, but I really would appreciate if you don't, I don't want people walking in and out while I'm singing. So we're going to close the door. And once the door is closed, no in or out. like that.
Yeah.
And he goes, these are some tracks that I use when I do like television, like talk shows or whatever. And he puts the music on and he sings for her. And
Oh,
he
my.
sounded exactly like the record. Exactly like.
And there's three girls in this room. Were you all melting?
Well, the whole band.
Oh, okay. I don't know how many girls there were in there.
She asked the girls to come sit with her on the couch, but
right. Yeah. Were you all melting?
Yeah. Yes.
I could just imagine.
It's crazy. It was a moment, boy. Like, can you believe this just happened? Everybody's like, can you believe what just happened?
I'm having the vapors right now.
Social media. So, can you imagine?
Oh, I'm imagining it right now. Luther Vandross just walked in and just started serenading that girl. Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine that live feed?
Oh, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so you've had some moments in your life there, Charlotte McKinnon. And that was a moment. That was a great moment with Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo.
Yeah, and later,
in Europe, though, right?
Pardon me?
In Europe. What part of Europe was that?
No, that was here. That was after the Europe tour.
That was after.
We came back, and we were in New York rehearsing.
New York.
And we were going to do the we were doing Saturday Night Live.
Yes, okay, that's Saturday Night Live. That's right. And I think I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Yes, and that you were back up with Jennifer Lopez or Casey?
Yep.
No, okay.
With J-Lo.
I know Casey was on SNL as well at one point.
I was never on there with Casey.
Oh, so sad. Okay, all right. But with J-Lo, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it might have been a situation where they didn't take his whole band or something. I don't know. Or that was when I wasn't with them.
Right. It might have been just before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but exciting. You with Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah,
that was
exciting.
In New York.
And then later that month or was it before? We did another show.
No. Back up. SNL. What was SNL like?
Whoa.
Whoa! Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a show that's been on since the mid '70s. So hello, this is a big show.
For me, it was kind of like just like that moment when you met Casey. It was like that, like it was just a wow moment, and like I can't believe this is my life, and
yes,
just kind of taking it in and seeing what the TV world is like.
Who did you meet at SNL?
Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan. And then, I had a friend that came up to visit with me. My ex-boyfriend's mom, she came and hung out. So I was hanging out with her.
That's a sweet moment for her.
Yeah, it was. That was really nice of her to fly up too.
Yeah.
She was like, "I'm not gonna miss this," and so we
I can come to SNL with Charlotte McKinnon and J-Lo. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
She came and that was really sweet. So I hung out with her for a minute. I hung out with the band, and Chris Kattan came over and hung out with us. And Will Ferrell, he was real cool with the band too. Really friendly and cracking jokes the whole time. He was funny, really funny guy. And Chris, he was just smitten with J-Lo, so he was hilarious as well. But they hung out with the band, and we thought that was really cool. Because sometimes
I remember they did that Mango thing together.
Yeah.
Did you get to watch any of that rehearsal?
And there was one rehearsal that they ran through, and she was I know that they gave her script like a couple days before to kind of go through, and so she didn't have much time to learn all this. So I was really impressed with her professionalism. She nailed it.
That is the absolute most famous Mango in my mind. When he did the character, Mango was there before, but when J-Lo and Mango got together, that was fire. It was incredible.
And they had that fight, and she goes, "I'm Puerto Rican. I will cut you."
Yes. I was thinking, was that made up on the fly, or was that written?
I don't know.
Was that scripted? Because that was fantastic. So yes,
she was such a natural. I had to give it to her. She was. I could have really appreciate her talent and being able to see it up close like that. So I mean, when you're a fan, it's one thing, and you're watching them on the movies or on TV or whatever. But with movies, you get to go over those lines over and over and over and over. Like when we did The In-Laws, we shot for 3 days that one scene.
3 days.
And then we'd be there like a full day for 3 days.
Right.
8-hour days there shooting different, segments of that one scene. And
when you're performing live, you get one chance. Guess what?
You get one chance. So, just perspective of it all, and just really appreciating what people do. You don't get to see sometimes the work that goes into a lot of these performances.
Now, SNL, you get a dress rehearsal. It is performed all live, correct? Or
yes,
was there a little backtrack?
It was performed live. I think they started doing that backtrack after they had that little incident with TV started doing backdrag after the whole what was it halftime thing with Janet.
I guess, yes.
After that, then the live shows had to have a backdrag so that they could correct anything like that from happening, prevent things like that from happening live on TV. But yeah, that was live. Yep.
And what year was this that you were on SNL?
That was in 2000. 2000.
Fantastic. And you met that great cast, and you worked with Jennifer Lopez. Was it a dress rehearsal and then the actual show? And,
yep.
And how did that? Was that?
They did do one taping they did do this like Wednesday thing, or I think it was a Wednesday thing or a Thursday show or something. So they did do a rehearsal and a taping for that. And then on Saturday, they did a taping for Saturday.
Okay, so you have backup. See, a lot of people don't know that on SNL.
Well, no, it was Saturday's show was shot live.
Right.
The Thursday or whatever thing they did was shot for some other little thing that they have. I'm not sure about that. I'm not exactly sure, but the Saturday show is definitely shot live.
So maybe for promotional support throughout the week, you shoot that little thing on Wednesday. So
I'm not even
you
sure
spend the whole
exactly
week
what that was.
You spend the whole week.
I think they had like another showing or something. Maybe it was like a syndicated thing. I don't know.
Gotcha. But you spend the whole week in New York doing rehearsing for SNL.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be an amazing thing. I'm fascinated. Hey, I'm fascinated.
You're funny.
I'm fascinated by the whole thing of Saturday Night Live. It's just amazing that you could put a show on and almost be flawless almost every week. At least to my untrained eye. I'm sure the performers are saying, "Ooh, I flubbed that line. Ooh, I should have said this. Ooh, I should have said it that way." But
if you pay attention, sometimes you can see them like almost crack a laugh or something, yes. or make a facial expression or something. But and then you'll know that maybe they kind of slipped up on something. But for the most part, they nail it.
Yeah, and I've heard performers on many different podcasts where, all right, when you say this line, you got to lean all the way to the left so you stay out of the camera when we go to the different camera.
Mm-hmm.
So and you as a performer that has done some TV and some movies, you know that you have to step out of people's camera angle at
mm-hmm.
some point. So, that's just, all right. SNL 2000. Good job, Jennifer Lopez. Where are you going from there, Charlotte Mckinnon?
Back to Casey.
Yeah.
So, I stayed with Casey. I ended up staying with Casey. He gave me a little heat for that.
Why?
I did just a couple of shows to do the European tour. And but I just felt like that was an opportunity I could not turn up. I at least needed to see what it was like. And I said, I don't even know. They might not even like me, so, but I got to take this chance. So I went and I did it. And I did 2 other shows with her. I did SNL, and then we did a pregame show with TRL for the Super Bowl that year.
How cool is that? How was that experience?
that was a lot of fun too. It was a lot of work. It was outside. It was hot, and so but it was fun.
So what does your mom think about this? My baby, she's on TV.
Yeah, my mom, she's not so excited about that thing.
Parents are funny that way.
She's happy. Yeah, she's happy that I'm happy and I'm living,
They want you to go to school and become a doctor.
Yeah, she'd prefer I would finish school. So, but, I had to turn down the future gigs that they called me for with J-Lo, which they called me a couple more times. And, after I said no, a couple more times, they didn't call me anymore.
That's right. But, they move along.
Yeah, they move along. So because I just felt like, when I went out with J-Lo, I'd be gone for a week or two. Yeah. But with Casey, I go do the shows and I come back. And in the summers, Erica could stay. She would go and visit with her dad, who lived in D.C. or at one point he lived in New York. New Jersey, and she would go spend summers with him and be in camp, and then or the weekends when I'd have activities for her. But J-Lo didn't allow me to, I'd have to be gone too much, so I had to say no, and that's basically how I made my decision.
Very smart
about not continuing to do shows with her, and she didn't tour that much either. That was the other thing. And KC was work year round. Right.
And, you had your weeks off and you worked the weekends.
Yep.
And you could still be a mama. That's great.
Yep.
It seemed like the best fit.
Yeah. And over the years, with Casey, I turned down a few more gigs. Like, why can't I say her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I was talking about her last night. Natalie Cole. Wow, you had to turn down Natalie Cole? Yeah, I got a call to come and do a couple of gigs with Natalie Cole, but I was out with Casey. Yeah. I had turned down a gig with Shaka Khan.
Oh, my.
Yep, I turned down a gig with Mary J. Blige.
No.
Yep. So I was like, but
you got a lot of what ifs, Charlotte Mckinnon. I made
the decision based on what was good for my life at the time.
Yes.
A background singer can't afford to bring her baby on the road, but
Understood. I mean, you make enough to pay the rent. And, keep a roof over the heads and put food in the belly.
Yeah, and put her in a nice camp and nice private lessons for things. But, it really wasn't feasible to try to drag her around the country, nor was it fair to her.
Right, right. She's got her friends and school and stability. And you got your mom that's helping you out. That's fantastic.
So it worked out. And, happy. And an opportunity, I did have an opportunity to audition for Cirque du Soleil at one time.
What? What were you going to do with them? What kind of act could you do with Cirque du Soleil?
I was, as a singer, they have singers.
Sing on a high wire, like upside down, juggling?
No, for some of the shows, a lot of the music sometimes would be live. Well, like I know the shows in Vegas, they would have live music. And and even if they didn't have, if it was tracks, they would have live singers. Oh. So sometimes the singers would be behind a screen and you'd see a silhouette, or sometimes they'd come out in a costume in the interim of the acts or during the acts, and they'd have singers. So, yeah. But that I would have to do my training in Canada, and I didn't want to drag Erica there, so.
No, there's no way. There's no way. It sounds like you found the best track for your life, Charlotte Mckinnon, the best way
with
to
the
go.
Boogeyman. I stayed with the Boogeyman.
Are you kidding me? That song and a lot of Casey and the Sunshine Band's songs are my go-to karaoke songs. I sing Boogeyman almost every time I do a karaoke. And all the things that you've been talking about, I've been developing, putting together a playlist for Friday night. I'm at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Yeah, of all places. I'm in Arkansas, baby.
Okay.
But I have a regular show on Friday nights. So as you were talking, I'm putting together a track list I'm going to play all your songs on Friday night with all your various bands and give you tribute. And of course, I'm going to promote this podcast as well. But yeah, Charlotte Mckinnon, man, I'm having a good time chatting with you, learning more about you and how you reached the goals that you have reached and the places that you've been. That's fantastic. So are you still with Casey, I guess?
I retired my boogie shoes in 2012.
When was it?
In 2012.
2012. Okay.
Yeah, it was time for me to, to try and do some other things. And at that time, I thought that I wanted to move away for a while, but that didn't really happen. Some other things happened that I ended up staying here, and I stayed. I worked locally for about 1.5 years.
What kind of job
and then
did you do?
Back at Monty's.
Monty's.
South Beach, wedding bands, bar mitzvahs.
Hey, I miss bar mitzvahs. I did a bunch of them when I was in South Florida, but I haven't done one since I'm here in Little Rock, Arkansas. Where are my Jews at? Come on. I know there's a Jewish community here somewhere.
Yeah, it's huge here, and the weddings, the people come from everywhere to have their weddings here.
Oh yeah,
especially Jewish weddings. So
any wedding really.
Had to learn all the horrors. The Hava Nagida Hava Nagida Hava Nagida Verishnaka Hava Naranana Hava Naranana Hava Naranana Verishnaka. I love those songs. I love the melody.
I was lifting up an empty chair as you were singing that, trying to, but I guess I shouldn't lift an empty chair. It probably is bad luck of some kind. Hopefully somebody will be in that chair while I was lifting it up. You're sending chills up my spine. Every time you sing, Charlotte McKinnon, I love it. I love it.
Oh. Well, I really, really love those melodies and, so.
Yeah, klezmer bands and all that clarinet, just fantastic.
That was fun. And I got to meet more musicians and, just networking. And at one point when I was with Casey, I had started to I wanted to sing some Caribbean music, as part of my heritage. So I started singing with some reggae bands and down at Monty's, I sang with, sang some, in a soca band. So I was learning.
What soca band? What soca band?
Soca Islander.
Yeah, you can shout out everybody. This is your podcast.
Islander, Mr. Carl Jacobs, who's now he's from Trinidad and Tobago, and you can Google him too. And he has the song that I love most is Trini to the Bone. Trini to the Bone. Trini. It's a song about his country, and it's a beautiful song. I love it. And I had a good time with Carl. He when I came back, he's like, "Hey, you can come back into Monty's anytime." He was the musical director at Monty's at the time, the entertainment director at Monty's at the time when I came back. So he gave me some gigs, and I started singing soca with him and doing a little bit of everything else. So that's how I ended up back over there. And some other bands, like I said, the wedding bands and corporate bands and what else? And I did
food on your table and roof over your head.
Yeah, big time.
Beautiful.
And back to doing session work, of course.
Now, monetary wise, do you think you can make more as a touring musician? You got to give up your family, but you could be a touring musician, or can you make a living as a local musician? 5 minutes, an hour away from your house. What do you think? What's better? What do you feel?
Yes, but you have to strategize with both, I think, right. Because as a touring musician, your career depends on the celebrity's career. Like, if they decide not to work, you're out of work, so, and some people like to take longer vacations or longer breaks, or they go in the studio to record and they're not out touring, so you're not working. So, it's you have to have some strategy there, and you definitely have to save your money for the rainy days.
Correct.
But with both, I think, yeah, you could just strategize, because there's definitely a slow season for singers in Miami anyway. Our slow season is the summertime, and if you could come up with something, a house gig or something during that time, then
Yay, Monty's.
something, yeah, yay, Monty's, something that could work for you, that could be, lucrative.
Yeah. I mean, I have my 2 or 3 gigs a week that are pretty steady, and it makes a little living. It's fine. I'm not the talented singer that you are, but I'm the DJ. I'm the guy in the back. I'll play your songs.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you.
It depends on your life and what you need, what your needs are. So some people need or live a more excessive lifestyle, and they need more money, so they need to make the big bucks on a regular basis. And my life does not require that.
Right. Live pretty simply.
But,
you take care of yourself and your mama.
And I make sure to save a lot when I am on tour. So, I came back to Monty's. I was doing the Caribbean thing for a while, and then I ended up in the studio with one of Bob Marley's sons, Kimani Marley, doing some backgrounds for Kimani, who offered me a position on tour with him. So I started touring with Kimani.
Well, I used to meet up with the Marley's kids at Guitar Center in Kendall all the time. How many kids does Bob Marley have? Do you know?
Not exactly. I don't. I don't, but I think it's like, I think there's one sister. Maybe I know of one sister, but there might be 2 sisters, and then let me see, Steven, Ziggy, Rohan, Kimani, Julian, Damien. That's what I know. That's like 6 or between 6 and 8, something like that.
So you got to work with Kimani. I mean, what kind of conversations did you have with him, and what happened there? Oh
man, Kimani, he's a sweetheart. He loves music, and that was the foundation of our relationship.
Yes.
And it was pretty much all things music, and he's a family person. He's got kids, and so we talked a lot about that kind of stuff. And he was a very kind man on the road with us. He was good to the band, and friendly. And he's like, most times, wherever the band was, he was like, we're a family, so we'd hang out together, and that was cool. We go eat, we get in the city and we all go eat, and Kimani's right there, so unless he had like promotions to do, if they had to have him out doing interviews or
So this was a tour that you had in
well, I toured with Kimani. We did we do some spot dates occasionally, but then we would do some tours too. So I went to Europe with him.
Wow.
I went to South America with him, and so it was a lot of fun.
2014, somewhere around there.
2013, 14, and 15.
Wow, 3 years with Kimani.
Yeah, kind of on and off, because in the interim of that, I was also touring with Barry Gibb.
What? This is an interesting turn of events. You go from Kimani with the Caribbean stuff. I'm guessing he's doing Caribbean stuff as well.
Yeah, he does reggae.
A lot of reggae. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the legendary Barry Gibb of the Brothers Gibb.
And I want to say I had done one gig with Barry prior to landing that gig with Kimani. I think that's how it worked out. I think I did one gig with Barry. It was a local gig, or like 1 or 2 local gigs with him. And they were talking a tour, but it never really manifested. And then that's later on I ended up with, touring with Kimani. But I know that I remember I'd gotten a call to find out if I was available to do some bear stuff with Barry back when I was with Casey, and I had to turn it down.
Now he's in Fort Lauderdale now, right? Didn't they move to South Florida?
Barry? Who, Barry?
All the Gibbs, really?
Well, he's the last surviving Gibb.
Yes.
Yeah, they've all passed on.
Yes.
So he's the last surviving brother. I
But in
think he has
South
a
Florida?
sister left. Yeah, he's here in South Florida.
Yes.
I think he's Miami Beach. I think he's.
Okay, gotcha. So you met up with him and
Yeah, I did a couple shows with him. You know, I have some friends. A lot of the musicians in his camp are all from, we're all former UM, music grads. And so I knew a few of them. And my very good friend, Lisa Richards, who's a local singer, and she in her own right has done a lot of stuff, and she has music available on all the platforms, but she has music on iTunes as well. Lisa, Leesa Richards.
look that up.
Yeah, look her up.
You know,
She's
before you move on from Barry Gibb, the first 45 that I owned was "Got to Get a Message to You."
Hey,
Oh,
I just gotta get a message to you. Yeah, that's a good song.
Oh my goodness, I played that over and over and over back in the 70s. As a small lad, a baby DJ. Even before I was a DJ, I was DJing for myself.
His repertoire.
Oh my
Jesus.
goodness, he's got 100 hits.
His catalog. not only has he written, some great hits, but he just has so much great music out there, even songs that weren't big hits,
Right.
and then all the stuff that he's written for other people.
Oh yes.
Jeez Louise.
You're talking about songwriters and such. George McCrae, I got to meet him back in 2007 or so, somewhere around there, and he wrote Casey's songs.
And Casey wrote songs for him.
And
too.
Casey wrote songs for him. Was it Rock Your Baby?
Right.
Okay, maybe I got it backwards. He wrote Rock Your Baby for him.
Yeah, Casey
That's
wrote
right.
Rock Your Baby. Yep.
That's right. So that's what I was thinking. Man.
Yeah.
And just how things are interconnected in the music business, and how you meet
Right.
one person and maybe years down the road, oh, you know what? Let's work together, because I remember how well we worked together before.
Yeah.
And you develop these relationships, and you've been doing that, developing relationships throughout the years since '86 when you got out of high school. Was it Coconut Grove? What was it?
Coral Gables.
Coral Gables.
High.
Yeah. What's the mascot?
Cavaliers.
Yeah. What's a Cavalier? I think I owned a Cavalier, a Chevy Cavalier. Terrible
Oh,
car.
my goodness.
Terrible.
Dan, you're a mess. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so Barry, I sang with Barry. There were two shows, local shows. We did a benefit for I think the Diabetes Foundation. And then we did a show at the Hard Rock. And then there wasn't anything. And then I went on tour with Kimani. I was doing some shows with Kimani. And then for about 2 years, I was flip-flopping.
Okay.
And I was going out when Barry went out, I went out with him. And when I wasn't on tour with him, I worked either at Monty's or I was out with Kimani.
Wow.
And then I got a call to go to Korea.
What?
With a band over in Korea. And I went for 2.5 months. I was like, okay, I don't have anything at the end of the year. And I went to Korea.
Sure, why not? Let's go to Korea. Why not?
And sang in a city called Jeju, and it's an island called Jeju in South Korea. And that was a lot of fun. So
what kind of music are you doing in South Korea?
Top 40.
That's cool.
A little bit of everything, whatever the audience want to hear. And we tried to do, like, we did a nightly gig. It was 6 nights a week. And we tried to put a show together where we did different genres every night. So we just really put together like 3 or 4 shows and then just kind of rotated them.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was nice because I hadn't been to Korea. I hadn't really been to Asia much. I'd been to Japan once.
Okay.
But I hadn't really been anywhere else.
Who did you go to Japan with?
I went to Japan by myself.
Oh, okay. This is just a vacay.
Well, not really. It was a little business thing too, but I did kind of a little what do you call it?
Recon?
No, well, that did sort of. You'll have to forgive me. My brain's just
Oh, that's all
fried.
right. It's still early in
Been
the morning.
working so much.
You know, as an
It
artist,
was
you.
kind of like a little showcase that I did for some promoters, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it was kind of cool. So it was just something that I did on my own, and then I linked up with some other friends that were on tour that were over there, so I got to hang out with them while I was there, and I kind of subsequently set it all up around their tour. I knew they were going to be in that city around that time, so it was cool.
That's cool.
And then
You weren't completely alone in Japan.
nope,
And
nope,
as an
I worked it
artist,
out.
you're doing different things. You know, you got the reggae, you got the Barry Gibb, you got the Casey and the Sunshine Band, you got the J Lo, and you got different genres, and it's giving you a creative outlet as well. Charlotte McKinnon, I mean, how do you feel about working with all these different people? That is great.
Very blessed. Because I know that it doesn't come easy for a lot of people, Sometimes it's just being in the right place. Sometimes it's sometimes it's not all based on your talent or your abilities, and sometimes it's just based on who you know. And I thank God that I have had the privilege to work with all these wonderful people, as well as all the people that I work with locally, some really talented musicians that I learn a lot from, and that I take a lot from spiritually too. I think, just kind of fills my spirit meeting all these different people that are so talented.
That is fantastic.
And that they love what they're doing, and we all encourage each other. And, at times I'll meet people and they're like, I want to get on the road. And I was like, stay open to that. It'll come.
Yeah.
And keep putting it out there in the atmosphere. Let people know that's what you want to do. And, it'll come.
It will.
That's how I feel about it. And, you'll find your way. And I said, sometimes it's better to have an agent that can help you, get there, or, and don't be afraid to take gigs when they're offered that they might pay a little less, but they're going to give you an opportunity to meet some people that could open other doors for you.
Now, you mentioned your agent. I need to go ahead and have you give a shout out to your agent, because as soon as I reached out to you about doing the podcast, your agent was right on top of things.
My manager, Gail Hoyer. Yes, I'm being managed by the agency partners. So this is a new collaboration. I just signed with them, and I'm pretty excited to be doing some things with them. They're very supportive and very helpful in, helping me organize things for my career and try to move in a different direction. Now, there aren't too many tours coming my way lately. So.
No, it's nice to have somebody on your team to at least keep you organized. Yes, you're the performer, and me, I'm just a lowly DJ, and I go and I set up my own equipment, and you have to have a team to get you to the next level, to set up all your speakers, your microphone, make sure that all your marks are set up on the floor so you know where to stand, you know where to be, and you have to have a team to get to a higher level. And that's
I learned to do all those things myself over the years, especially working with all these different bands. Watching. A lot of times with Casey, we'd go to sound check, and sometimes I would stay and I'd watch what the crew will see what's happening, and I learned a lot. I took notes. So
yeah, a lot of times people will ask me, hey, do you need help carrying your equipment? I said, and I joke, I've been looking for a roadie since 1986, but nobody knows how to put the stuff back in my vehicle properly.
Yeah.
But when you
because you develop a system that works for you. Exactly.
Right.
So that's the objective here, that with the agency partners, that we develop this system and can look for bigger and better opportunities for both of us, to grow. So.
Well, she's working hard for you. She was working all night long. It was fun. I'm calling her, and I guess it was her time, maybe 10:30 in the evening, and she's still working for you. It was great. It was so good.
Yeah, Gail is a sweetheart. She is very diligent. So I'm excited about our partnership.
I'm excited for you, Charlotte McKinnon. So we're in Korea still, and this is 2013, 14. Well, no. You did the Kimani until 15. So maybe this is like 16 that you were in Korea.
So it's probably like the end of 14. It's probably the end of 14 when I first went to Korea, because I went twice, and it was in between. Like I said, like I think that year, in 2014, I think it was. I went to Europe with, I think I went to Europe with, was it? No, I had done the U.S. tour here with Barry.
Okay.
And then we did, and then I went out with Kimani in Europe. I think that summer. It's kind of a blur.
Well, not to brush over the legendary Barry Gibb, what kind of stuff did you do on tour with Barry Gibb? Was it all Bee Gees songs, or was it some new things that were going on?
The first tour I did with him was like a tribute to his brothers, the Mythology tour, and that was Bee Gees.
Yes.
That was pretty much all Bee Gees. And then, we did that Mythology tour we did in Australia.
Wow.
And then we did it in Europe. And we did some dates, and we did it in the U.S. And then Barry recorded and released his album, and we did the promotion for it. And we were scheduled to do a tour in Australia, and that didn't happen. So we're waiting to hear what's next.
So you're still in touch with Barry Gibb and still a part of his new projects.
Yeah, whatever they call me for, I'm game. I'm there. He's amazing, man. What a true talent he is. Like, just to watch him connect with the musicians when we're in rehearsal, and then they just start vibing, and I just love that about him. Because you don't see that often. Like, most of the artists, they come in, they're going to rehearse what they need to rehearse. And once they get that down, they're out,
But
Casey,
this is an artist.
Casey was a musician too. He would come in and play, and he would remind them, on the record, I played it like this, And he goes, go back and listen. And he says, because I want to kind of keep it true to the original sound, And he says, he says, you got to get more in the pocket, and it's a groove, So, and he'd give them the vibe he'd play it on his keyboard. And so I love watching that. I love that they, when the music just takes over. That's how.
And these are people that have had staying power. They've been around for so many years, with the Bee Gees being from the 60s and the 70s for Casey. So, yes, you definitely have some mentors, some people that you can get experience and knowledge from. Charlotte McKinnon, and people are getting experience and knowledge from you right now on this podcast. And I'm so glad that you spent some time with me. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having this platform. This is a window into what we do and who we are as people, because a lot of times people don't see you as a person. They see you as this, celebrity or whatnot. I don't consider myself a celebrity.
Oh, you're a celebrity, Charlotte McKinnon.
I watched when I was around Casey and all the other celebs. That's how everybody sees them. They see them as celebrities. They don't see them as people. They come up and start talking to them like they know them as a person. And I'm thinking to myself, how weird must that be to constantly have these strangers in your face talking to you like they know you. They're calling you by your name, and you don't have a clue as to who they are. So most times they don't even introduce themselves. They just come up and start talking to you. And how weird must that be?
Well, and then somebody like Casey, when somebody comes up and says, hey, Harry Wayne Casey, he has to probably search his mental Rolodex and try to figure out, do I know this person? Do I know this person? And I think the celebrities now, their thing is saying, great to see you rather than great to meet you. Because if you say great to meet you, hey, you've met me 3 times already. And it gets very embarrassing and very, off-putting
Yeah.
for somebody to come up to you like that. So yes, I imagine that next level. And
Yeah.
Charlotte McKinnon, I'm sure people have come up to you and said, "Hey, Charlotte McKinnon," and you're like, "Do I know you?"
Yeah, it's happened a few times. And even people that I've known in my past that I don't recognize, I feel like I've lived more than one lifetime.
Oh, for
Sometimes
sure.
because I've been doing so many different things, and like I'll be off on this thing now, and I've got a whole new group of friends and family, that I'm involved with now for this time,
Oh, for
or
sure.
the next year or whatever. And then I come back home and I'll run into a classmate and I don't recognize them, and it's sometimes I was like, honey, you gonna have to refresh my memory, or I don't have my glasses on. What's your name?
No,
What street did you live on? I'll just go there and I'll tell them.
yeah, you can only keep about 1,000 people in your head, and that's for somebody who's young and very, is sharp. To keep 1,000 people in their head, and Mr. or Mrs. 1,001, you're going to fall out of that head, if you don't come around for a few months or even a few years.
But I was, like I was saying, I was flip-flopping on those tours for about two years. I did it, just going back and forth between all those shows. And
This is 2016, 2017, maybe?
2014, 15, and maybe right into 16.
Right.
And then I got sick.
Oh no, what happened?
And everything just shut down. And I had a cold that it was right after I came back from Korea, the second trip. And I had a cold and it didn't go away. And
What?
I kept going to urgent care and they couldn't figure it out. They just told me, put me on antibiotics. And a few months later, I took myself to the emergency room and it was pneumonia and and a rare strand. And they kept me for 10 days and my immune system was almost non-existent at the time. So that slowed everything down. And so I needed to figure out what was going on. So I had to see a number of specialists. I saw a pulmonologist because I had some damage to my lungs from having that pneumonia for so long because it was, hadn't been diagnosed. And then they were trying to figure out why my immune system was so weak. And I was seeing an immunologist and a pulmonologist, and they sent me to a cardiologist. I was seeing all these doctors, and no one could figure it out. So for about 9 months, I was seeing doctors. And finally, they diagnosed me with an autoimmune disease.
What?
And so I've been dealing with that and haven't been touring quite as much. But then, good old friend Lisa Richards.
Leesa.
Yes, Leesa calls me up and was like, you think you might want to go do this tour with me? And I'm like, are you kidding me, Lisa? You know what I'm going through. She goes, I'll be there to help you. I think you can do it. So I say yes and end up on the road with Joe Bonamassa.
Joe Bonamassa. I know that name.
Yes, he is a guitar god.
Yes, he is.
So ended up on tour with him, went to some rehearsals in Tennessee, and then went out for a couple of weeks, and it was phenomenal. Man, that guy rocks. And so that, just like he's more like blues rock,
Right.
type of thing. And like just a totally different thing, something totally unexpected. And I still wasn't as healthy as I probably needed to be, but I did have a lot of help. Lisa did help me a lot. And I was very careful to stay well while I was out there. But
yeah, you drinking your juice, taking your pills, doing what the doctor tells you?
Yeah, I'm on some inhalers and whatnot.
Wow.
So it's like it left me with a COPD.
Oh my.
So because of the damage to my lung, that left me with COPD and this autoimmune disease, which, I had to start learning about these whole this disease and how to care for myself. And so I started reading up a lot and went to some group meetings of, with other people that have the disease and some caregivers and some representatives from the pharmaceutical company from one of the treatments that I was on. And, just learning as much as I could about it so that I could be functioning with this disease and continue with what I'm doing. And my doctors now are all in awe of my progress because of my singing.
Yes.
It has helped my lungs so much. Like the damage that's done is irreversible, but my breathing capacity has improved tremendously. And I think most of it is because I sing.
Now, did you have any training as a singer?
Yeah, at Miami-Dade.
Miami-Dade, okay.
Yeah.
And did those exercises help you to improve on your lungs and your breathing even through
And
this
the constant
disease?
singing is because I'm constantly singing. Yes, the exercises and that I'm constantly singing. So, that's a big organ that's working constantly to,
Work
produce.
through it.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, God is good.
Yeah. So people with an autoimmune disease, the COPD, and I don't even know if asthma can be helped by singing or building up your lung capacity. Is that something that you've learned through dealing with this?
I don't know that is something that I should recommend for people.
Right.
But
Consult
it
your
is something. It is something that has helped me.
That's great.
So I was always very active. I like to dance. So, I was dancing and singing so much with Casey, it's almost like the timing, something in my spirit kept telling me it was time to leave. It was time to leave when I left. And there was no other reason.
Did you feel like you were running down at all or?
Not so much that. I just felt like it was time to go, And I did, and I left. And I was struggling with that for a couple of years before I left, maybe about 3 or 4 years. I kept going back and forth with, I'm going to leave. Right. And I didn't. And then I finally did. And it's like, well, what are you going to do now? I was like, well, me, I ain't figured that out yet, but I will, I'm looking for, I just feel like somebody said something to me once, or I read it. It was something that I read.
Uh-huh.
Your intentions have to be that the universe is working in your favor constantly. Yeah. And if your intentions are there, that's what you'll get back. That you'll be putting that energy out and you'll be receiving it. So that what good is going to come to me today? Wake up with that attitude. Even when things are bad, how much worse can they get? They got to get better from this, so. Well,
you're saying things are going to come to you, but you got to work. You got to put in the work.
Of course.
You're not going to become a star. Hollywood's going to call me. LA is going to call me. Miami's going to call me. New York's going to call me.
No, none of those places ever called me, but it didn't stop me from getting work.
That's right. You made a living as a singer, as a talent. Not painting you in a small box as a singer. You're more than that. You're a dancer. You're actress of some kind. Do you want to pursue more of that, or where do you see yourself going from here, or have we even gotten here yet? You're still in 2016 with John Bonamassa.
Oh boy.
So what happened after John Bonamassa?
John Bonamassa, just more of the same. I came back. I went back to Monty's. I did a couple more shows with Barry, after that. I think right after that Bonamassa tour, I went to Europe and did a show for the Royals with Barry Gibb. And, so I had several shows with him. That was when Barry was promoting his new album.
Wait a minute. For the Royals in England?
Yes.
Who did you meet of the Royals?
I didn't meet any of the Royals.
Oh, no.
Per se, but yeah, it was a big show and they had a lot of acts.
Were they at least in the audience? Were they in the crowd?
Yes. Camilla and Prince Charles were definitely there, and I don't know. I think the Queen's brother. I'm not sure but yeah, the names that I recognized the most were Camilla and Prince Charles.
So how many people at this concert?
Wow, it was sold out, and I can't remember the name of the venue. Please forgive me for that. But what was the name? Who did I meet that day? Oh, the biggest star that I met that day was Sting.
Dang, I've never heard of him. Charlotte McKinnon, you've met so many people, you've done so many things. I don't expect you to remember everything, everyone, but I'm sure it'll come to you.
But yeah, it was Sting.
You met Sting? Sting. No.
From the Police?
Yeah, no, really. Of the Police? No. You had to explain that to me? No. You didn't even have to explain that to any of my listeners.
I understand what I was saying.
I thought you said dang.
That's what I thought you thought I said. That's why I said it again. So,
you said Sting. It was Sting? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was walking
I'm
along.
not editing anything. This is my mistake. You said Sting, and I thought, what? Okay. You met Sting. Yes. Fantastic. Overplayed many of his albums. Played his albums over and over and over. Go.
And got to hear and we're sitting there, everybody's doing kind of a little run through. Earlier that day, it's supposed to be sound checking. You're doing a little run through or whatever, and we're sitting there, and Lady Gaga comes out on stage.
How about just no big deal, Lady Gaga just coming in, no big deal.
Yeah, and we knew it was going to be somebody big because right before she came out, they announced no cameras, no phone, no cell phones.
Yes.
So we're like, oh, somebody big is about to come out.
Right. So how did that feel?
That was cool.
She was huge at that time. Woo. Still doing things, but that was her peak right there.
Yeah, she was amazing to watch. She's deserves all this success she's having. Yes,
right.
She does.
Say what you want. She's worked for what she's got.
Yeah, you can see it, and when you see her live, you hear it, you see it, you witness it. Yeah, she's right where she needs to be.
Yeah, the theatrics, the performance, fantastic. Mm-hmm.
She's worked hard to get there. No, I honestly believe that regardless of how you feel about somebody's talent, if they have acquired some success, they have put in the work to get there.
Yes. On
some level, it might not be to your liking or what you think, the level of success that they deserve. But if whatever level they're on, they have worked to get there.
Yes.
You can't get there any other way.
Absolutely. And that's gems. You're giving people gems, pearls of wisdom right there, Charlotte McKinnon. You got to put the work in.
Yeah, some people don't, you don't agree. You don't like their talent. That's your preference. That's just your, you don't like that style. But that doesn't mean they're not talented and they don't deserve their success.
No, people that are quote unquote haters, they want to build themselves up. They're not trying to build anybody else up. You got to build everybody up. And you, Charlotte McKinnon, you're building people up as you go along the way. You work with people and you see interesting things, interesting projects, and you go, yeah, I'll try that. Yeah, I got a couple of weeks off. Let me go over there. Let me try that. And you try things, and you're not afraid to try things and see what comes of it. And that is what people need to know is, yes, no has to be on your list as well, but say yes too. Say yes to something out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Hey, let's go to Korea. Yes.
Why not?
Yes. Okay. Let's go to Cancun or what was it? Somewhere in.
Yeah. And I got pictures of for the last 3 or 4 years on my Instagram of all almost everything that we've talked about.
Oh yeah, you're a
I've
good
got all the
follow.
pictures on it. So you can follow me on Sugar Hip, SUGAHIP, and you can follow me on Facebook, Charlotte McKinnon. And hopefully I'll be recording more now.
Yeah, we
That's
didn't
what
even
I
talk
love to
about
do.
that. Sugar Hip, where did that come from, and how long has that been going? I
Oh
guess we
my
could
goodness.
finish it off there.
It was Sugar Hips was a name that I was writing under. I would write, because I just told you I do a lot of session work and stuff. And sometimes I'd be like a ghostwriter for art, some up and coming artist or a rapper, a local rapper or whatever. And I'd like sing a hook on there and they say, oh, what name should we put you under? And I think I was like waiting out a contract with a label or something. And I had this fictitious name that I was writing under for a while. And I was using that name, Sugar Hips. And later, I needed to incorporate for my music. So I decided to use that name. And that's where it kind of came from. So it kind of morphed into Sugar Hip.
It fits perfectly. It fits perfectly. You're with your dancing, with your hips moving, and you being so sweet, Sugar Hips. Yeah, it all works out perfectly.
I've heard that before. Okay.
Oh, okay. We'll hear it over and over and over again.
I'm joking. But yeah, that's where that name came from, and it's older than my daughter, Sugar Hips. Like I've been using that name for so long, and now it's become a part of me. So.
And what are you recording? I mean, where does it go from here? I guess we finally come to now. I know you're still dealing with your illness. How are you feeling?
Yeah. I'm feeling great. I can't run anymore, but I power walk. I love to power walk. I'm like the master power walker, and but I power walk in the mornings, and I go through my dance route, my show, like go through the choreography. I try to do that once a day, and sing the songs. Try to go through the show a little bit, and then I perform at Monty's. I'm there I do 5 shifts a week. I'm there on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 10. And on Saturdays, I do a double shift in the afternoon and then at night. And then on Sundays, I'm there during the midday shift. And it's, so all of that stuff helps so much with my condition.
Girl, you're working.
Yeah, I work a lot.
That's a steady job right there at Monty's.
It's a steady job, and they give me the freedom to go and do my shows and come back. So I have a freestyle show. I love 80s freestyle at Miramar Parkway, November 16th. So if you love freestyle music, it's a great event to come to. Come and support freestyle music. I'll be singing Fascinated.
Yes, you will.
Yep. So come out and, Do
you know anybody who's billed on that?
Hopefully I'll be doing more of those shows next year. And I'm looking forward to doing some recording. So I've always wanted to do a Christmas album. So I'm working on that. I have some Christmas songs out now that I did with my friend Billy Paul Williams. Yeah. They're available on iTunes, so you can look him up, Billy Paul Williams, and Billy Paul Williams featuring Charlotte Mckinnon. I have quite a few songs with him, some Christmas music and other music. So
even people that don't necessarily like Christmas, they like Christmas music.
Yeah, right. So, yep.
That's beautiful.
Check out Billy Paul. Billy Paul's got a lot of great music out there. He's a friend of mine that I worked with at Monty's back in the early 90s, and we've been friends for years. He's the friend that introduced me to Donna Huntley, and he's over in Europe now.
Yeah, he's me and Mrs. Jones.
No, not that Billy.
Not that Paul. Billy Paul. Okay.
Billy Paul Williams.
Okay, different Billy Paul. Gotcha.
Different Billy Paul. So check out the music that I have with Billy Paul. There's a couple of songs. There's one that I love. It's called We Need Love.
Oh.
We Need Love. That's one of my favorites that I've done with him. And What I Got, and there's quite a few. So, but they're all available, like I said, on iTunes. You can also find them on YouTube. So check them out. Maybe you might want to play some of that music as well.
Oh, it's on the playlist for Friday over at the Rab. So come and see me. You got time to get to Conway, Arkansas.
Oh my goodness! I haven't been to Arkansas in so long. You should come through. Yeah,
was it 2009? Was that the last time you were here?
Probably with Casey.
With Casey. Oh my goodness! It was so nice to see you when you came around. That was such a hoot for me, especially since I was bawling my eyes out after moving here. You know, and oh my goodness,
away from everybody.
I moved away from everything that I knew, and you know, I started a new family here, and it was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I've changed my world from blue of the ocean to green of Arkansas, the natural state. So, yes.
Yeah. So I'm, working on that. I would love to. We're trying to get a single release before Christmas of one of the songs. So we've been working on it and just tweaking it now, and hopefully we'll have that available.
What studio you at now?
I'm working with a friend independently.
Okay, I like that. You know, people with a computer and the right software, and a good microphone. Yes, you got a recording studio.
Yeah, you can do that nowadays. So, I mean, once we get it, we get the sound that we're looking for, then we'll start, working in a bigger studio. But at this time, it's all pre-production.
Fantastic. There's always something new on the horizon for Charlotte Mckinnon. Sugar Hip. So you're pretty much Sugar Hip everywhere when people want to find you online, right?
Well, I'm Sugar Hip on Instagram and on Twitter. But on Facebook, I'm Charlotte Mckinnon.
Well, it also is Sugar Hip as well. I'm looking. Yeah, it says facebook.com/Sugar Hip.
Okay, there you go.
You didn't even know you branded Sugar Hip so well. You did. You're a brand, Sugar Hip, and that's been around. We only just came to that at the end of the podcast here, and and you've been using that since even before your daughter was born. Sugar Hips, because you're so sweet and you dance around with your little hip swaying. All right.
When are you coming back to South Florida, Dan?
Oh, my goodness. My mom and grandma are still in Key Largo saying, come home, son. Come on home. We got some room for you.
Well,
come
at least
and visit.
How often do you get back to visit?
Haven't been back since 2009, I'm sad to say. And I need to get back there.
Yes, you're a bad boy. You need to come home.
I'm a terrible, terrible boy. You're
at least a visit.
Yes, I know. I need to see my mom and my grandma. You're taking care of your mama right there in South Florida. Yeah. Well, all right, Charlotte Mckinnon. I think I've taken up enough of your time for the What Makes You Famous podcast. Thank you so much for telling me.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate you.
Any last words for the people?
Music is life.
Well, there you have it, party people. Charlotte Mckinnon, the Sugar Hip. Oh, she is singer. Just talented, just so talented. Oh my goodness. She has had a life so far, so good. When you put your mind to it, when you put the work into it, you get what you put into this life. She wants to be a singer. She becomes a singer. She wants to work with people that are, greater, that have done things already. She does it. She does it from being in Company B, starting in the girl group, even before that, with or just concurrent to that, doing some gospel singing, taking some classes in theater, and just you put the work in, you get what you put in out of this life. A lot of people think, oh, things will come to me. They feel like, oh, things need to come to me. No, they will not come to you. You got to go to them. And sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone. I know that's a cliche, comfort zone, out of the box, that kind of thing. But when somebody calls you and gives you an opportunity, weigh it out. See if it's good for you and your family, and then do it. You know, if it feels good, you go do it. If it feels like it's something that's right for you, you go do it. Charlotte Mckinnon has been all over this planet because she's put the work in, from being in her own, doing her own thing to working well with others. You got to work well with others. You never know where those meetings and those people that you work with, they could become friends and they could become good colleagues that'll help you in the future. So always be a nice person. Always do good things for people. Always build people up. Don't try to tear people down. That is just the wrong way to do it. You got to build people up. And as you're going up through this great life of ours, bring people with you. If you have somebody that says, I need to learn about that. I need to know. People ask me all the time, hey, how do you get into this DJ stuff? I'll let you know. I'll do it. I know as a younger person, you think, I got to keep this all to myself, keep all this knowledge to myself sometimes. And you think, if I tell somebody, then they're going to be more valuable than me. Well, to succeed in this life, you got to take people with you, build them up, teach them, and then they, in turn, will teach others, and everybody will be happy. There's enough room on this planet for everybody, enough space to do what you want to do. Turn what you love into a job, and that's what Charlotte Mckinnon has done. She has turned what she loves. She could have worked at Burdines. Yeah, she could have stayed there and been Employee of the Month. Yeah, she could have done that. But no, she went on to bigger and better things, and it's taken her all over this planet. And I see nothing but good things come from Charlotte Mckinnon. So excited. I was so excited. Thank you so much for being on the program, Charlotte, and thanks for listening, my fine, famous people, my fine listeners. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you, give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email me, info@radiowhat.com. That's it for this edition of the What Makes You Famous podcast. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
Radio What, the music you want, with some great quotes.
A good restaurant is like a good song. You feel as though it is yours, even though everyone sees it. Anonymous.
The music you want, radiowhat.com.
Be on Radio What. Call 501-470-6386. Say your name, where you're from, and you're listening to What? The music you want is on radiowhat.com.